Good evening. Welcome back to Passionate World Radio Network. The world in your hands, and cool your heels with Lillian on AMFM247.com. And tonight, our special guest is Dr. Tamara-Magnum, who wrote a book called Meet My Friends, Purpose, Passion, Power. So, good evening, Tamara. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good, Lillian. How are you?
I am doing very well, considering one thing and another.
Oh.
Yes, well, we'll leave that one alone. You wrote a book called Meet My Friends, and then you outlined 3 big P's: purpose, passion, and power. Why did you choose those 3 words, and by choosing them, what were you trying to get across to your audience?
So the whole idea behind Meet My 3 Friends, Purpose, Passion, and Power was to give voice to women in order to reach self-efficacy, right? Understanding that it takes purpose, it takes passion, and it takes power in a relationship with them to reach your intended goals. So that was the whole purpose behind Meet My 3 Friends, Purpose, Passion, and Power, just to reconnect women with those 3 friends in an effort to reach holistic self-efficacy.
So do you feel that the women of today are missing something that maybe your previous generation had?
Absolutely. And I think that, ideally it comes down to grit and stamina, because life itself throws us so many different tolls and turns and circumstances and situations, and most women find themselves in situations where they're broken. They find themselves in relationships that are not conducive to their growth and development. They find themselves in spiraling careers because they don't know how to get out of the rut of working for someone else, right?
Right.
Even if they don't choose to become an entrepreneur, they kind of put themselves in a box because they feel like they have to make sure that they're making ends meet to take care of their families. So one thing that I really talk about in the book is, how do you pursue your passions? How do you walk in your purpose and ultimately harness your power so that you can be the best you that you can be despite the journey that you might be on?
Do you feel that sometimes culture uses the big F word, fear, or also the big F word, futility, or the big F word, failure, to hold women accountable for their actions? So unlike a man, their risks of faith are a little limited there?
That's right. I think that fear plays a dynamic role in women's ability to kind of move forward in the things that they want to accomplish and achieve. And in fact, I talk about in the book some specific stimuli, right, that keeps us in the place that we're often in. And I talk about things like success and failure, and I talk about our interactions with trauma and pain and what they do to us over a long period of time. I talk about fear and, walking in a position of courage. I talk about, our senses of leadership and obligation and how those things could ultimately impede our ability to grow beyond where we are today.
And I think, too, that it's just not culture. When a person has a relationship, and usually they think man, woman, 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 relationships are also conducive to a relationship in work, and a relationship to what you're seeking outside of your work. Relationship can be many different things. So how can a woman try to make the right decision in initiating that kind of relationship that will not result in her being the loser?
So I talk about this in the book a lot, Lillian, and the first thing that I do is I reconnect women with purpose, right, as it relates to friendships and relationships that they may find themselves in. And I find that over time, it's very important that we ultimately do 4 things, right? Understand that every relationship or friendship that we have in our lives serve a purpose, even if the purpose of that relationship or friendship is positive or negative. Number 2, I talk about understanding that friendships that turn into relationships are not necessarily the ones that you really want to be in, right? Now we're not talking about love interest here. We're talking about something totally different, all right? And understanding that a friendship and a relationship, they are not identical twins. And I think sometimes women make the mistake of understanding that, because you are my friend, we are in a relationship. And that's not necessarily true, right?
Yeah.
And to also finally understand that there is magic in the coexistence of a friendship and a relationship. But the most important part is that you understand what purpose those relationships or friendships serve in your life.
And I think these are the kind of questions that you really need to start asking yourselves somewhere around junior high, where they start pounding on you, well, do you know what you want to do when you grow up? Do you have an idea of what college you want to go to? Folks don't laugh. They're doing it now. And more importantly, they're asking these kids, especially girls, to consider the sciences, which I think is a great idea, but there's a lot going already against girls by the time they hit junior high. I mean, I remember my kid coming home and telling me, the girls have dumbed down, Mom, and guess what? They're still doing it.
That's right. That's right. They are. And, in many instances, listen, I'm raising a 12-year-old little girl, right? My whole ultimate goal for her is to show her that she can be and do anything that she wants to do, right? My job as her mother is to be her role model, right? It is not, the Beyoncés of the world. It's not, the individuals that she sees on TV. It has to be me. And for all intended purposes, most women do not position themselves, I'm going to say adequately enough, so that their girl children that they're raising will look up to them and say, you know what, I want to be like my mom, right? How do we do that? What does that really look like? Wouldn't it be a perfect world if, all mothers were in a position, rightfully so that their girl children could be, modeled after them? And that's what we ultimately want. We want our children to walk in purpose. We want our children to have grit. We want our children to have tenacity and to reach for the stars, right? That's what we want.
That's what we want. But the problem is, in most perfect worlds, which you're talking about, is not every girl is going to come equipped with what she needs in order to achieve their success.
That's
my son was one of these gifted, talented kids, so he didn't have to work too hard. But I told him, I said, there's only one king or queen of that mountain. And if the kids coming up behind you are very hungry, and they'll work twice as hard to put themselves in that pinnacle that you take for granted.
That's right. That's right. And it's ultimately important that, as children are growing up, that they really understand the importance of positioning themselves for success early on, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm graduating. I'm graduating from high school, and now what do I want to do, right? I think that these things need to be taught early.
Very early.
What does this look like? How do I get there? What are the things that I need to do to position myself, to be everything that I want to be?
And I think it's more important than taking your daughter to work wherever it is, even if you're a secretary. Let me tell you something. There are secretaries, and then there are secretaries. And as a secretary, I was at the high end, even though I didn't have a 4-year degree or a master's or a certificate saying I was Miss Wonderful, but I had a work ethic that could not be touched by even some of the permanent workers within that company. I was a professional temporary. And basically what all my bosses told me is, when you leave, Miss Caldwell, we have to find 3 people to do the work that you did all by yourself.
Yes.
And that's exactly the type of person you want your daughters to aim high. And I think that it would serve a purpose And instead of just taking your daughters to work and letting them see what you do at work, is maybe even have an intern where your daughter can come in and actually see the skills and the education that one needs in order to be in mommy's shoes, so that by the time she does graduate from high school, she has a better appreciation of what she can do in order to be mom and have one up on mom.
That's right. That's right. Lillian, I took my daughter when she was younger. I would take her to work with me. I took her everywhere I went. Whenever I went to an engagement, whether it was inside of a classroom or, wherever it was, I took her with me. And she traveled with me probably for the first, I would say, 6 years of her life until she started to go to kindergarten. And one day, driving home, she said to me, Mommy, I want to be like you when I grow up. Are you like my Dr. Dada, which is her pediatrician, right?
Right.
And I said, are you a doctor like Dr. Dada? I said, no, honey, I'm not a doctor, a physical doctor like Dr. Dada. I said, but I still help people. She said, well, Mommy, I want to be just like you when I grow up. She said, because when I look at you and I see the things that you do, I just, she's like, I want to do the same things. And in that moment, I knew that I had a bigger job to do with her, right, as she continued on in her own journey, trying to develop and find herself, even though in that moment she was only 5, right? It is my responsibility to make sure that she gets the things that she needs so that she can be successful and to continue to want to dream bigger and higher.
Absolutely. And it's our job as her teachers or her parents or grandparents to make sure she understands that with her own hard work, she can accomplish what she needs to succeed for herself, not for somebody else, not for grandma, not for mommy, but for herself. Because the measure of her passion, power, and pursuit of what she wants rests solely within her own grasp. And that's something that most kids never pick up on because so many people are busy trying to live their lives through them.
That's right. That's right. In the book, Lillian, it's funny you bring that up. I talk about one of the chapters when we're talking about passion, right? And in the book, I personify these 3 characters, right? I turn them into women. And I talk about the relationship that I have with them. And one of the things that I talk about in terms of passion is I say, passion, please don't die, right?
Right.
And I think what tends to happen is that for women and girls, right, as we age and we become adults, because we are so consumed with so many different life challenges, and we start to have children of our own, we have husbands and their relationships, we start a career, we miss out on the opportunity to really reform or reconnect with the relationship we have with passion. We almost forget her, right? We don't call her up and say, hey, passion, let's have a conversation today, right?
Right.
But passion today is my best friend. Passion is my best friend. I call on her when I am trying to, come up with the next big thing. I call on her when I'm feeling like, I haven't accomplished what it was that I wanted to accomplish. I call on passion when I need that extra boost so I can move forward in a lot of different things in my life. Passion is the one that keeps me up at night, right? She's the one that puts me to sleep at night because I am so invigorated by what she's trying to show and tell me. And I think sometimes women, we kind of let go of the relationship we have with passion because so many other things in our life take precedent.
I think that you have, in order to keep passion within your life, I look at it like a small fire that you build up from kindling. And then it's your job to bank it so that it will survive any type of storm that comes in, will survive any kind of interruptions, and it will always be burning. It may not be a bright, leaping flame, but it'll be smoldering there, ready to spark when you need it.
Right.
When people asked me about my station, and I talked to them. I said, God, you're so passionate about it. And says, how long have you been doing this? I said, 13 years. And they say, how can you still be so passionate? I said, because it burns my soul. And that's basically what passion is all about, ladies, is that it's that inner fire inside of you that drives you forward. And yes, it also sustains you in terms of complications, tragedy, and anything else that life and Murphy wants to throw at you.
That's right. That's right. And it's so critical that we don't lose. We don't lose that relationship we have with our friend Passion. Because at the end of the day, she is the be-all, do-all, right? She is kind of like the guide. She's the guide in our life. Yeah. She's the one that keeps us focused and humbled and, keep us direction-oriented, right? She's the one that keeps us moving, right? She's that fire, as you explained, right? So when things start to get a little dark, when things get dark in our lives and we're consumed by, whatever it is that we're going through, we should always be able to pull on Passion for some encouragement, right?
Yes.
Of those things that we love to hear.
Basically, what we're saying is that there's a little person of you inside of you. And you need to reconnect. If the connection's been severed, you need to reconnect with that inner person. Because that's what's going to keep you lifting weights, if you want to put it that way.
That's right. That's right. But you know what, Lillian? Life overall is just not about choosing, which dreams you're going to pursue, right?
Right.
Which ones you're going to go after, or which ones make you the most fulfilled, or which ones really edify your soul. It's really about understanding those things that are going to keep you in position so that you can continue to move forward in this thing we call life, right?
Right.
Passion at the end of the day is not the be-all, end-all, right?
No, it's not.
Definitely, it's not. But it keeps us in position so that we can become the best that we can be.
Absolutely.
And live a purposeful life. Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember, ladies, that you're not so much competing with outside forces as the competition within yourself.
That's right.
And that's what you're competing against.
That's right. That's right. Tony Robbins, I heard a quote, and I actually put this in the book. Tony Robbins said, passion is the genius of genius, right? It is the genius of genius. And if you can master being a genius at following your passion and having a relationship with her, then you are setting yourself up for success. And I think a lot of individuals who feel this way, such as Zig Ziglar feels this way too. He says that passion is the driving force behind success, right? So if we can position ourselves to really rekindle that relationship, for most women, we will find ourselves in a successful place.
So I'm pretty sure your book gives some suggestions of how a woman, can position herself to use the 3 Ps in order to be successful in whatever path she pursues.
That's right. That's right. And ideally, Lillian, it's really about getting women to really understand how to make more informed decisions, how to retweak and tailor their behaviors, right, to reach their ultimate goals. And I give some specific steps and some strategies in the book, right, to help you get there. When we start talking about how to surrender to purpose, right, I give about 5 or 6 steps on some things that you should really do to think about in terms of how are you going to surrender to your purpose. Now, a lot of people say, you know what, I just haven't found my purpose yet in life, right? So we've already talked about passion. We know who and what she is, right? But now let's talk a little bit about purpose, right? And in the book, I give you some specific tips on how to really understand how to surrender to your purpose. A lot of people say, you know what, Dr. T, I am still trying to find my purpose. No, you're not. You know you're not. You're not trying to find your purpose. You just haven't surrendered to it yet. And I talk a lot about this in the book. It's not about finding your purpose, because I feel like you already have it inside of you. You just haven't tapped into it yet. So in the book, I give you some specific strategies on how to really find it and how to surrender to this thing we call purpose.
A lot of what you have inside of you, this purpose, ladies, you already have the purpose. You
That's
just
right.
haven't identified it for yourself. Your
There
purpose
you
is not always to be a good wife to your husband or a good mother to your children.
Right.
Sometimes purpose means what's your place in the world and how are you going to change it?
That's right.
Or add
That's
to
right.
it. That is your purpose, to find out what way the path is for you to decide to take. And I mean, it took me a long time to figure out mine was. Once I found it out, well, the rest is history, and I'll be doing it until, well, the day I die. But the thing of the matter is, you already know what that purpose is, but fear may be keeping you from fulfilling that purpose.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And one of the things that I tell women when I go speak to them, when I'm out at events, and I'm doing an empowerment speech, is I tell them, don't be afraid to fall, right? Allow yourself to fall. Falling is not a condition of failure. Doesn't mean that you've failed, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to fall so that you can understand the consequences of getting back up, right? So I talk about that, and I understand that potential has nothing to do with purpose. A lot of people think, oh, I got to have so much potential in order to find my purpose, and that's just absolutely not true, right?
Right.
And then I talk about creating conditions, right, for your purpose to live. If you are not willing to create conditions for your purpose to live, then she is not going to come full form for you.
Well, you gotta feed it. You have to trim it, and you have to water it. And you have to play nice music for it. Come on.
There you go, Lillian. There you go. That's right. So everything that you are trying to sow, right?
Right.
It requires some soil. It requires soil. It requires water, right, in order for it to grow. So you cannot manifest and walk in your purpose if you are not creating conditions for it to live and grow.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
You have to have, and please don't get alarmed, I'm not going to go into the deep end and talk about religion, but you have to have faith in yourself.
That's right.
That's what the bottom line is, ladies, is that you have to believe enough in yourself that whatever you do, good, bad, or indifferent, that you're going to do it right. Maybe it won't come out right the first or second or third or even fourth time, but trust me, you'll get there.
That's right.
But you got to believe in yourself.
That's right. There you go. And you know what, too, Lillian, just to piggyback off of that, because you say something extremely important when you talk about believing in yourself. And oftentimes, most women, we find ourselves in positions where we can't really believe in ourselves because we are so busy trying to hold on to the past, right, that we cannot accept the future or the reality of our future, right?
Yes.
So it's also extremely critical that we are able to reject the past and accept all that the future has for us, right? If we keep living in that dark place that we're in, if we are in a dark place, we will never be able to rise to the purpose that is in store for us.
That's it. You have to understand once you advance from day one to day two, day one no longer exists. The memory persists, but you can't go back. It just impossible to do. And don't talk to me about time warps, all right? We're not science fiction.
That's right. And then you know, the third piece to this puzzle, right, is understanding how to really harness your power, right? Just intuitively, women, we are some powerful creatures, right? And I think we find ourselves in situations where we're letting things like fear and we're letting things like, failure and all of those things, a sense of obligation overcome or consume us, where we're not truly walking in our power, right? And I equate this to superheroes, right? Every superhero that we know in the world was not necessarily made that way, right? Some were born superheroes, and then there was some of those who got their superpowers a little bit later on, right, in life.
Yeah.
But women, by nature, we are superheroes just intuitively. That's what we are. And I think we may find ourselves, some women, they find themselves in situations where they're not able to tap into her because of all of the situations that they may find themselves in. Trauma and pain, the sense of obligation, right, to their families or the relationships that they may find themselves in. I talk about this with my mom, right? My mother, she raised 2 girls on her own. She was a single mom. We didn't come up in, the best scenario in terms of housing. We grew up in a project-based environment, perhaps in the worst city in the United States. I'm going to say the United States, right? And yet she had a sense of obligation to her daughters to make sure that we had everything that we needed to be successful. And what ultimately happened is because she had this overwhelming sense of obligation, she really lost out on the opportunity to pursue her own passions and her own purpose in life, right? And I think most women find themselves in this situation where they have a sense of obligation to everything else around them but themselves.
Well, society has a lot to do with that, too.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean,
I think I don't care what color you are, culture and society have already predetermined what a woman should and should not be doing with her life.
There you go.
And it's very, very hard to break free of that.
That's right. It's extremely hard, very hard, but it is an absolute necessity ensuring that you are able to reach self-efficacy.
Yes. And this is when you draw within yourself to draw it back out of yourself.
Mhm.
And that's what you need to do. I was a single mom, brought my kid up under the poverty level. Why? Because my parents didn't train me for anything but to be married and support my husband.
That's right.
So, I did the best I can. He came out pretty good, considering his uncles told me that by the time he was 9, he'd be in a gang, and by the time he was 12, he'd be dead. So I wrote that brother off. I haven't spoken to him in years. But the point of the matter is, that was his viewpoint of what culture and society determines of single parents, especially women who are not properly trained or educated, and therefore they write you off as a casualty.
That's right. But here's the twist on that, right?
Right.
We are a casualty of our own circumstances. What we allow to happen to us becomes the casualty, right? It is not necessarily what others think and feel about us, right? Even what's going on in society, we set our own destiny. And I think what happens is that sometimes we lose sight of that because of the things that we encounter in the world around us, right? But if we step outside of the bubble, right, you got to be able and willing to step outside of the bubble, then you will fully be able to embrace everything that is in store for you.
Absolutely. You have to make up your mind, which is what I did and what Tamara did. You're not going to be the victim.
That's right.
You're not going to play that game. You are not the victim. You're the victor.
That's right.
And that's the distinction, ladies.
That's right. Absolutely. It is about stepping out on faith, understanding that you are good enough and you are enough, period, right?
Right.
And being able to take that control over your life. Because if you can control your life and the things that happen to it, then you'll have a better appreciation for everything else around you.
Absolutely.
So I always use this commentary that if I am no good to myself, I am no good to my daughter, right? I can't help her, right? If I am no good to myself and I am not in a good place, then I can't help my husband, right? I can't help my colleagues. I can't teach my students, right? If I am no good to myself, and if I am not taking care of Tamara, Dr. T, then I am no good to anybody else.
And what you have to hunker down and decide which is your greatest strength. Now, for me, is humor. Humor sees me through everything. It's amazing. I have a lot of fun with it. I make a lot of people laugh. I write a blog. I have over 50,000 people, and they love reading what I have to say, because you never know what's going to come out of my mouth. But I made the choice.
That's right.
That this is what I wanted to do. This is my MO. It's who I am. I get to help a lot of people with a big smile. And
that's right.
That's what I do. I connect people and I help them. And once I finally determined all this, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm over the age of 60. It took me a long time to get here with a lot of side streets I went through. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter when you get it, because when you finally achieve it, it doesn't go away. You just keep on fertilizing it.
That's right. Keep on sowing seeds, right?
Yep.
So anything that is fertilized can be sowed.
Absolutely.
Anything that is fertilized can be sowed. And I think that's so important that women, really think about the consequences of not being willing. I'm going to say willing. I'm not going to say able, because you are able. It's not being willing to fertilize the soil around you. And the soil is you.
Yes. And you have to remember this, ladies. The first step is always the hardest.
That's right.
But it really gets easier when you hit step 101.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
We're ran out of time, Tamara. We're going to have you back. So please tell everybody where they can buy your book, where they can find you on the World Wide Web, any upcoming presentations, speaking engagements, etc.
Absolutely.
Get it out there, girl.
Yes, Lillian, I've enjoyed you. I got to say first that I've absolutely enjoyed you this evening. Definitely look forward to coming back and sharing with you again. You can definitely find me at Dr. Tamara-Magnum City near you.
Awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, before you go away and stray, Herman Melville had this to say in 1852, faith and philosophy are air, but events are brass. Thank you all very much for listening. You can hear this interview with Tamara all over again on amfm247.com Tuesday evenings from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also on https://passionateworldradionetwork.com. You can also hear it. Yes, I have the ability to turn it into a video, so you can hear it on youtube.com/Passionate World Radio. You can also hear it on facebook.com/PWRNLLC and Passionate World Radio, Twitter, and yes, all the other social media websites out there. You won't miss it. And you can also hear it, before I forget, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and those smart, like Alexa. I don't like saying the name because then it starts glowing blue in the background. But you can hear it on all the smartphones, and I understand that you can also hear it on some cars with the new internet radio receivers in them, if you're interested. Well, thank you all very much for listening, and remember, please keep listening. Thank you.